Hi all, hope you all are doing good. So today we are going to discuss about the largest organ of the human body. Any guesses which is the largest organ of the human body? I'll give you a few more seconds. Okay, let us see the answer now. The answer is skin. Skin is the largest organ of the human body. And today we are going to discuss about the skin, its structure and functions. So, skin is the primary organ of the integumentary system that forms the outer protective layer of the body, working alongside its accessory structures like hair, nail, and exocrine glands. So, what is integumentary system? It is like any other systems which have in our body, like you have your circulatory system which has the heart and all your blood vessels. Then you have the central nervous system where you have your brain and your nerves. And then you have the digestive system, like you have your esophagus, stomach, intestines. So, integumentary system is also a system which consists of your skin, which is your primary organ, and it has the accessory structures like the hair, nails, and the exocrine glands, like the sweat glands and the sebaceous glands. So, like in the circulatory system, the heart forms the main organ or the primary organ in the circulatory system. Similarly, in the integumentary system, skin is the primary organ of the human body. So, if you see, the skin is covering the whole part of our body. We have your hair, you have your nails, you have your sweat glands, which secretes sweat to the pores present in your skin. You have the sebaceous glands, which secretes sebum, which is an oil like substance, which is secreted on the skin. So, all these together is what constitutes your integumentary system. And today we will be discussing about the skin. So, why is the skin so important? Let us look into that. Skin is very important because why? It forms a protective shield to the internal organs of our body. All the internal organs are protected by our skin, so they are not directly exposed to the external environment, which will or which can affect the internal organs. It protects the body from the sun's UV radiation. So, our skin helps us by protecting us from the sun's UV radiations. How it is done is we have a melanin pigment which is generated by these skin cells, which help us in protecting the cell's DNA from the sun's UV radiation. And it also helps us in regulating the body temperature. So how it helps is when it is hot outside, we start sweating and the sweat starts evaporating, thereby cooling the body. And another way is through the blood vessels, the blood vessels which supply blood to the skin. Whenever your body is heated up, the blood vessels expand so that heat can be dissipated out of the body via skin. In case the blood vessels constrict, your body temperature will be maintained constant inside the body, so that whenever you feel cold, the heat is not sent outside your body. That's why the blood vessels constrict. And it also helps in detecting the environmental stimuli. That is, it helps us with the sensations like touch or vibrations or pain. All these are felt because of the sensory receptors or nerves which are present in your skin. So these help us in the sensation. And the skin helps us in the manufacture of vitamin D from the sunlight, which is required for the bone health of our body. Then it skin protects us from the pathogens. It helps us by preventing the bacteria, virus, or any other pathogen from entering our body. It provides a tight protective shield. And the next one is it removes the waste from your body, like from your sweat glands, excretion to sweat. It removes all the body waste. The next one is it prevents the fluid loss by providing a waterproof skin structure so that you are not dehydrated. In case, imagine if your skin was not waterproof, all the water inside your body will evaporate and you will be dehydrated. And also, it does not, it makes sure all the external water does not get into your body. So that's how the skin protects us from all these hazards which are present in the environment. So these are all the functions of the skin. Now we will see how the skin actually looks. Let us take a cross section of the skin and see what are inside the skin. So when we look into the skin, okay, this is how our skin looks. So let me zoom a little. So now you are seeing the structure of the skin. So if you see, the skin is made up of three layers. One is the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. Epidermis is the outermost layer of the skin, dermis is the middle layer, the thickest layer of the skin, and hypodermis is the innermost layer of the skin, which attaches to the muscle. Inside the muscle, we have the bones and the organs. So this is the structure of the skin. If you see here, the skin, this is the outside of the skin. And we have small, small pores present on the skin, which are nothing but your sweat pores from which the sweat comes outside. And you have the hairs coming out from the epidermis, sprouting on the epidermis. That is called your hair shaft, which is visible to our eyes. And if you see, the epidermis is made up of squamous cells. Squamous cells are very thin, scale-like shaped cells, like they will look similar to the fish fins, very thin cells. So this epidermis is totally made up of that type of cells. And we have the basal cells which are present in the epidermis. So epidermis is made up of nearly 4 to 5 strata of cells. There is different layers of cells structures. So the different layers of cells which are present in epidermis we will see in detail later. Now we have the topmost layer of epidermis is called the stratum corneum. This layer of cells or the stratum or strata is called the stratum corneum. It is all made up of dead cells. So whatever is visible to your eyes, the skin you are seeing is nothing but a bunch of dead cells. This you'll understand once we see the epidermis in detail. Next is your basal cells. So basal cells is the lowermost layer of cells which epidermis has. These basal cells are one which extend inside the dermis, further inside the dermis, and form the hair follicle inside which your hair is placed. Okay. Now these are the structures of the epidermis. This much layers of epidermis is there, and the maximum thickness of the layer is the dermis. Inside the dermis, we have all these structures embedded. First, we have the hair follicle, which we have seen the basal cells expand and go deeper inside the dermis and form the hair follicle. So, inside this hair follicle, we have the hair root and you have the hair growing out into the skin. So we also have the sebaceous gland which is attached to the hair follicle. This secretes oil which gives that oily uh, feeling on our scalp. That is secreted by your sebaceous gland, which is the oil gland. Okay, then is your erector pili muscle. Erector pili muscle is one which, no, when it contracts, it keeps the or makes the hair straight. That is that goosebumps which we get, right, when we get scared or when we are cold. These hair become straight, they erect. That is caused by this erector pili muscle, which is attached to the hair follicle. When they contract, the hair becomes straight. That is the goosebumps we say, no, we get. Next, inside the dermis, we have the sweat glands as well, from which sweat is secreted and sent via the sweat pores outside. And then we have these um, sensory nerve fibers present. These yellow color ones, the sensory nerve fibers are present. So in that, one of the structure is Meissner's corpuscle. Here it's modify the sensory nerve fiber where this will sense the light vibrations or slight touch which are sensed by the Meissner's corpuscle. So that type of sensations are no felt by this Meissner's corpuscle when suddenly your glass is no slipping from your hand. All those types, slightest touch or jerks are felt by Meissner's corpuscle. And this is the Piscean corpuscle. This type of sensory nerve detects a sensory receptor. This detects very high vibrations or high pressure, high touch feelings are or sensations are detected by these Pacinian corpuscles. Okay, then we have all these blood vessels present inside the dermis which supply blood to all parts of the skin. And the other thing is no these um, hair follicles and these sweat glands, no, they can extend into the hypodermis as well, which is the innermost layer, which is the subcutaneous tissue, the innermost layer. So these hair follicles can extend into the hypodermis. Even the sweat glands can extend into the hypodermis. So these are all the parts which are no present inside the dermis. Apart from this, there are some structures which no hold these no structures in place, which we'll be seeing in detail what the dermis is no made of, in which all these structures like blood vessels, nerves, hair follicles, and these sweat glands no are anchored. And now the innermost layer is your hypodermis, which is made up of the adipose tissue. So what is this adipose tissue? These are nothing but your fat cells. So all these fat cells are accumulated in the hypodermis of the skin, and it anchors all your arteries, your veins, your sensory nerve fibers. All these are embedded no, in this hypodermis. So this is how your skin looks. And below your hypodermis is your muscle, and below your muscle will be your bones and your internal organs. So this is the structure of the skin. This is how your skin looks. Now we will look into detail the layers which are present in epidermis in detail. Okay, so now comes your epidermis. So epidermis is made up of no five strata of cells. Five strata in the sense five layers are there in epidermis. So we'll see one by one each layer in detail. So let us start with the bottommost layer. So this is your dermis, and your bottommost layer is your stratum basilae. This is a single row of cells which are present, which we were saying the basal cells that are present at the bottom of the epidermis. That is the top of epidermis, this is the bottom. So just above the dermis, the lowermost single layer of cells is called the stratum basilae, and these generate a jelly-like substance which parts or no, divides it from the dermis. So this gel-like substance is generated by the stratum bacilli, and what it makes sure is it does not, um, you know, this epidermis does not enter dermis, or dermis does not enter epidermis, and any pathogens do not cross this and enter the internal skin, that is the dermis. So that's how this basal lamina is uh, useful. So now on this basal lamina, we have this lowermost layer of cells which we were telling, and these are all nothing but your keratinocyte cells. They are no some four different types of cells. So all these basal cells are nothing but your keratinocyte cells, but based on the function, they have been divided into stem cells and transit amplifying cell. Stem cells are the cells which renew or create new keratinocyte cells. And we have the transit amplifying cell. So transit amplifying cell is a cell which is produced by the stem cell. So what happens? The stem cell divides, okay, into two, and one copy is maintained, another is the transit amplifying cell, another copy is this transit amplifying cell, and this multiplies n number of times to produce more keratinocytes. So why that happens is, if the stem cells keep dividing, then there are chances of mutation of DNA or the stem cells dying. So prevent that, we have a stem cell making a copy of itself called transit amplifying cell, and that divides and produces all the keratinocyte cells in the epidermis. And apart from all these basal cells, we have two more cells. One is the melanocyte cell, another one is the Merkel cell. Okay. Melanocyte cell, if you can see, it is having stretched arms inside. This yellow color arms are spreading in between the cells. They are no stretching and trying to enter the gap in between the cells. So what these melanocyte cells do? The melanocyte cells are nothing but the melanin containing cells. So they generate melanin, the pigment melanin. Melanin is a pigment which gives the skin color to your skin, your dark color or light color. All that is produced by your melanocyte. That melanin is the pigment which gives that color to your skin. If your skin is darker, that means more melanin is being produced. If the skin is lighter, your melanin production is low. So, what this melanin does? Melanin does, it gives us or protects us from the UV radiation, which is generated when the sun. So the UV radiation from the sun is no is sent from the sun, and we get protection from that UV radiation because of this melanin present. They guard our DNA so that the UV rays do not spoil our DNA. So that is your melanin, and this is your melanocyte. So you can see this black small granules, that is the melanin transversing between the cells so that it can be taken by the keratinocyte cells. Next is your red one. These are nothing but your carriers of melanin. So some melanin flows freely and some melanin are no enclosed inside the membrane, and then they flow between the cell spaces so that they can be gulped by the keratinocytes. So that are melanosomes. They are nothing but carriers of melanin. And next cell is your Merkel cell. Okay. So this Merkel cell, if you see, it is connected to the nerve fiber. So what this Merkel cell does is it gives your sensations of touch. For example, if you want the by touching with your fingers, we are able to sense the shape of the key. How it's happening? It's because of the Merkel cell. If somebody just touches you, you are able to feel, it's because of this Merkel cell. So these are basically the sensory perceptor present inside the skin, and this is present in the innermost layer of epidermis, and that is your Merkel cell. Okay, now what happens? Now this layer is done. We have the stratum basilae. This keeps multiplying and produces the keratinocytes and nocyte cells, and these start moving up as the cells are produced. So they continuously produce the keratinocyte cells. So the cells are migrated upwards. So next layer comes is stratum spinosum. So stratum spinosum is the second layer after the base layer, which consists of 8 to 10 layers of keratinocyte cells, and this is one of the thickest layer in the epidermis, as well as the living layer, living cells layer. Here all the cells are living, they are not dead cells, they are living keratinocyte cells. So here they have got this name spinosum. It's because when these cells are present here, right, these all cells are joined by desmosomes. So desmosomes is nothing but it's like no velcro between this and this. There are screw-like structures present between the cells by which two cells are joined. So what happens here? The keratinocyte cells produce the keratin filament, which is free-flowing keratin filament. It is not very dense, and these filaments join the desmosome of the cell, and here the filaments join the desmosomes of the other cell, and both these desmosomes, no, they connect with each other, which gives the spiny-like structures. All spines. Because of that, desmosomes which are present, which connect with each other, they produce this spiny structure. So when we look at this cell layer, that's why it got the name stratum spinosum. Okay, and here the keratin is produced as well as a water repellent glycolipid is produced here. So that glycolipid is water repellent. So that is produced in this layer. So this layer consists of the Langerhans cells. So what is this Langerhans cells? So Langerhans cell is the cell which acts like the uh, no security guard. So it guards the epidermis against any external pathogens. So it keeps a watch of if any pathogens are entering the epidermis, be it virus or bacteria or any other parasite. If it's entering the skin, it just eats of that virus or bacteria. This Langerhans cells eats of that bacteria, gulps it, breaks it into mini pieces, and then it detaches itself from these keratinocyte cells and enters the dermis. Okay, it enters the dermis and goes to the nearest lymphatic node cells and informs them, so that our immunity or the body's immunity is prepared to defend this external pathogen. Okay, so this is about the Langerhans cells which are present inside the layer stratum spinosum. So this is made up of 8 to 10 layers of tightly packed cells which are packed using the desmosomes, which gives it the spiny appearance. Next comes the layer of stratum granulosum. So here what happens now, here all are living keratinocyte cells, and now as they move up, as they mature, they keep moving up, and all the cells start flattening. So here nearly 3 to 5 layers of cells are present, the stratum granulosum. The cells start becoming, they start flattening, they produce keratin, which is fibrous, and keratinohyaline, which accumulates as lamellar granules. The granules which are present inside this are the lamellar granules. That is nothing but your keratinohyaline. So what happens is this is the waterproofing layer. So here waterproofing process is begun. It releases the lipids, special lipids, which is oil like in between the cell structures. So in between the cell membranes, that oil like liquid with lipids flow, and they produce a waterproof layer. So here, and one more thing which happens here is the cells start dying. They, uh, t- no, self kill themselves by eating up their breaking the nucleus organelles and all are eaten up inside these cells. As the cells start dying and more of keratin is produced, and by the time they um, die, they are nothing but your dead cells. So, this is the layer where the cells are in the process of dying, and waterproofing begins in this particular layer so that our skin becomes waterproof. Now, what happens is as these start dying and they start eating their own cell organelles and all other components, what happens is now, the proteins or the keratin accumulate at the corners of the cell membrane. So, the cell membranes tighten up, and a lot of keratin is produced, and the whole cell tighten up, and all the cells are tightly packed. And this particular layer which comes is your stratum lucidum. So stratum lucidum is a extra layer which is present in your fingertips, hands, or soles of your feet. It is not present all over your body, it's only present in this particular layer. This 3 to 5 layered cells is present. This is a transparent stratum lucidum layer is transparent, and it's present only in palms, your hands, your fingertips, your soles of the feet, and lips. Only in these places, these transparent stratum lucidum is present. These are also nothing but your dead keratinocyte cells, which are transparent, and they are no developed from a pigment. They are developed from the transparent liquid, which is derived from the keratinohyaline, which is produced by the stratum granulosum. So their stratum granulosum no manufactures or produces keratinohyaline. From there, the transparent fluid is derived from that. That protein is derived from that protein, which is manufactured by this stratum granulosum layer. So that's what happens, and it turns into transparent layer. And the this is the another layer, the topmost layer, which is visible to our eyes, which is the stratum corneum. It consists of nearly 15 to 13 layers of these dead keratinocyte cells. They are called as corneocytes, which they are basically dead cells. After this granulosum, everything dies, all the cells die, and it generates a protein, all this keratin, and that hards, hardens up and forms these dead pack of cells, and these are all also joined together by corneodesmosomes. So corneodesmosomes are same thing which we saw here, but modified version of the desmosome, which is connecting the two cells, is formed here, and all the cells are connected tightly. So all these are pack of dead cells, and these also provide no these provide us the waterproof, and they make sure no other external organ can easily enter our body. So basically, what is the stratum corneum is nothing but your pack of dead cells. So whatever we are seeing outside our body, when we touch our skin and feel wow, our skin is smooth, but actually that is nothing but dead cells. So and so what happens is, as the cells, these continue to generate keratinocytes. These are the living keratinocytes. They start dying, and finally they are dead, and they start shedding. So as and when the new cells are generated, these upper top dead cells are shedding off on a regular basis. That's why a lot of dust you see in your house. It's because of your skin shedding these dead cells from your body. So that is about your epidermis. So these are all the 5 layers of epidermis which are found in the epidermis. So now we will see next how this melanocyte transfers this melanin pigment to these keratinocyte cells. How the keratinocytes cells take in that melanin which is secreted by these melanocyte cells. So that is what we are going to see now. So the process of melanin transfer from melanocytes to keratinocytes. So this is the process by which it is transferred. So let me zoom a bit. So now we are going to see the process of transfer of the melanin from the melanocytes to the keratinocytes. So now this we have the melanocyte cell. We have seen it has all arm-like structures protruding out from these melanocyte, and these are all the keratinocyte cells in the upper layer. So now what happens? There are four different ways in which the melanin enters the keratinocyte cells. So how it enters? Now the melanocyte cell, melanocyte produces the melanin pigment. So what it does in one process, it releases all the melanin pigment as it is, and it moves in between the cells. So whenever the keratinocytes encounters or comes in contact with this melanin pigment, it just gulps in those melanin pigment, and it uses it and gathers it around the nucleus so that it is protected from the ultraviolet radiation, the nucleus. Next, the other way that is called your exophagocytosis. Next, the other way is where these melanocyte no, gives these globules, which is nothing but your melanosomes. So these melanosomes are there, right? So melanosomes are no produced by these melanocytes. So it takes the melanin pigment and surrounds it with its membrane. The melanocyte surrounds the melanin with its membrane and no releases it into the space between the cells. So they travel in between the cells, and then when these keratinocyte cells and come in contact with these melanosomes, they just gulp it inside and digest it and release the melanin pigment. That is another way, that is shedding globules. The other one is the membrane fusion. Here directly the melanocyte arm projects its arm and fuses with the keratinocyte cell and sends the melanin directly. That is membrane fusion. The last type of method is nothing but your place cytophagocytosis. Here the keratinocytes sees the arm filled with melanin. It just gulps the upper edge of the arm. It just eats the upper edge of the arm of the melanocytes. That is cytophagocytosis. So and then it releases the digest and gets the melanin. So that is how the melanin is transferred from the melanocytes to the keratinocytes. So hope you have understood this process. So that's how so if you see here, this is the melanocyte cell, the extended arms which are present. It is releasing that no melanin and the melanosomes. Melanin and melanosomes are released. See, melanosomes are nothing but carriers of melanin, or this melanin is free melanin, and these keratinocyte cells eat these or gulp these melanocytes or melanosomes or melanin. So that is how the melanin is transferred from melanosomes to keratinocytes. So next we are going to see about the no dermis and hypodermis. Okay, so here we have the dermis and the hypodermis cell. Let me zoom it a bit. Okay, so now what you are seeing is the dermis and the hypodermis layers of the skin. So now we will see what actually is present in the dermis and hypodermis, what structures are present, which keeps those structures like hair follicles, your sweat glands, your blood vessels, your nerve fibers, how they are, anchored and kept inside the dermis and hypodermis. We are going to see that now. Now, if you see the dermis, the middle layer consists of two layers, that is mainly the papillary dermis and the reticular dermis. So, papillary dermis constitutes about 20 percentage of dermis, and rest 80% is your reticular dermis. So, what is present inside the dermis? The dermis is mostly made up of protein fibers, which constitutes no 70 percentage, and specialized living cells are present inside the dermis, and it's filled with hydration gel, which covers nearly 10 to 20 percentage. So that is what is present inside these dermis, apart from the other important structures which we saw earlier. So what this papillary dermis has is, it has this collagen, fibrogen, and elastin. This also has collagen, hydrogen, elastin, and fibroblast. Both have the fibroblast, elastin, and collagen in both, but the no structure is somewhat different. So in papillary dermis, which is the upper layer of dermis, all these collagen and elastin are arranged vertically in a form of web. So they are weaved in the form of web, but they are vertical to the skin. So what happens, because they are vertical, they keep their skin in position. They prevent the skin from falling inside or forming wrinkles on your skin. So as we age, these collagen elastin break up, and then that's why we get wrinkles in our skin. And we have the fibroblasts, special fibroblasts, which generate the collagen and elastin inside the dermis, the papillary dermis. So these fibroblasts are different here. The fibroblasts in the reticular dermis are different. So here all this collagen and elastin are light, they are not thick, they are not dense. So fibroblasts can easily flow from here to there. And there are two special cells, mast cell and macrophage cells, which are present in the papillary dermis near to the epidermis. These are basically the guard cells. Okay. Um, Guard cells, in the sense, what they do is, um, so these are actually, what do you say, the guard cells. That is the mast cell and the macrophage cells. So what these do is, mast cells act as the alarm system. Alarm system is, whenever it finds some pathogen, it will generate or secrete histamine, which causes the usual allergic reaction. So this mast cell, and these macrophage are the cells which will go around, and if they see any bacteria or any virus, they will just go and eat off that bacteria and virus. That is how both the cells will work. Both will help in the immunity of the cell. So any pathogens or bacteria which has entered these dermis and escaped the epidermis is what is eaten up or no, guarded by this mast cell and the macrophage cells. So that is what these cells do. So here we have the fibroblasts, which are present in the papillary dermis, which create or generate this collagen and elastin. And now comes your reticular dermis. So here also the fibroblasts are present. Here different types of fibroblasts which are present here. So here in this layer, different type of fibroblasts are present. So these generate thick collagen. Okay, thick collagen is generated in the reticular dermis, and elastin. So collagen and elastin are generated here. It's very dense and it's very thick here, and that's why the fibroblasts cannot move freely in these reticular dermis, because they are tightly packed. Collagen and elastin are present. Next comes your hypodermis layer. The hypodermis layer, here also we have the fibroblasts which generate the collagen and elastin. These are wound in the shape of honeycomb structure vertical to the skin, which are present throughout the hypodermis. These wrap around the adipose adipocyte cells. So here we also have the pre-adipocyte cell. What is this cell? This is before it matures into this adipocyte cell, that is the pre-adipocyte cells. So it gets filled with fat and becomes the adipocyte cell. So that are the different cells and structures present here. So now we know what are the different structures which are present inside the dermis and the hypodermis. It also has, as we have seen, it also has the hydration gel which is present, which constitutes nearly 10 to 20 percentage of the uh, surface. Is part is of this dermis is covered with gel. In that gel, all we have all these fibrogens, elastin, and collagen present. So these uh, because of these strong structures, all the important structures like your hair follicle, your sweat gland, your blood vessels, your nerve fibers are all anchored in these structures. So hope you have understood everything about the skin today. If you know like my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. So we'll come up with new videos like this. Thank you all.